If you only want to see the Adobe Illustrator side of this course, you can go ahead and fast forward all the way to the Adobe Illustrator side. I'm also showing the workflow from Rhino, but again, if you don't need to see the Rhino aspect of this, go ahead and just fast forward to the Adobe Illustrator workflow portion of this video. I also have all of these timestamped. In this course, we're going to cover how to create architectural floor plans that have a strong sense of hierarchy and really puts emphasis on line weights. And this is going to be a little bit different than how you use line weights in a professional setting. This is more so in an academic setting where you kind of want to exaggerate your cut lines and really create this really nice like pop effect or this strong sense of contrast in your floor plans. And it's more so like on the aesthetically pleasing side than it is more on the technical side, but that doesn't mean you can combine the two together. And I'll show you later in the video how you can combine more of a technical feel to your drawings with also a more of an aesthetic or creative feel to the drawings at the same time. So I'm just going to go ahead and create like a very simple floor plan scheme. And this is purely in plan. And then we'll just make 2D and I'll show you the workflow in Illustrator on really how to create this sense of hierarchy with your line weights. So I'm just going to go ahead here and I'm just going to rename some layers. I'm going to rename this layer right here as walls. And I'll just go ahead and update layers as I go. So I'm in the feet units and I'll just go ahead and make a box. I'll use the box command and I can start it as vertical and start it edge here. And let's just make them like 16 feet wide by 16 feet tall and just click like that. And then you can decide the length. We'll make them like 50 feet like that. I actually don't like the proportions of this. This looks a little weird, so I'll make it longer. So I'm gonna do move. You can do move face, or you can do scale 1D. It's your choice. And I'll move it about. We'll make it 100. So 150. There you go. So this is a nicer proportion. And then I'll take the same box and I'll hold Alt and I'll just duplicate it and maybe I'll rotate it like 60 degrees, like that. And then let me take this same box and let me rotate it -30, like that, so that we have this one. I'll just move it maybe like, let's see, maybe something like, because I want to create like a courtyard, you know? So I think something like this is nice. And then what I'll do is let me exaggerate this face and make it even longer. Maybe this is like, maybe we can say this is like a museum, for example, right? Move face here and I'll move it another 50 feet like that. And let me move this face across here, maybe another 25 feet like this. And then maybe this is just like a really long spine that goes all the way across. So we're gonna do move face, another 100 feet. There you go. This is a little awkward, so we'll just extend it out again. It's 25 feet. There you go, like this. And so maybe you have like this one level floor plan, you know, that looks something like this. That is like maybe like a museum of some kind. And we could add a fourth bar to create another courtyard. We could make this courtyard a little bit bigger by rotating this, maybe like negative, or not negative, we can do just a regular angle. We can do 30, but then it becomes parallel. We can go ahead and maybe rotate this a little bit, like 10 degrees to make the courtyard a little bit bigger. We wanted to. So then everything is not straight, which is a little annoying, but like that, just so that we can get a true courtyard feel in the center. So we have this, right? So this is our walls, okay? And so I just want to show quickly how you can start to add windows and you can start to add doors and window frames on your floor plan. So what we want to do, let me just rename this layer here and I'll just call it doors. Let me rename this layer here. Let me call it window. And then let me rename this layer here. Let's call it frames, which you'll need. Okay, so let's start with windows. And so this is 16 feet tall. So maybe we have these nice square windows. And what we can do is we can maybe have them from floor, but leave the roof as is. I mean, this is purely floor plan, so I'm not worried about the section. So what I can do is do rectangle, or even easier, I can do plane, and then select the V for vertical option. I'll make them 10 feet by 12 feet, like that. There you go, like this. So maybe these are the windows, like this. And I can also change the orientation of the gumball because these things are at an angle. So if I go to gumball right here and do align to object, now I can move this along the object easily. And so maybe we have one. This is just random. This isn't supposed to be like aesthetically pleasing or anything. I just want to show you how the workflow. And then scale 1D. Let's make this maybe 20 feet, like that. And then let me just copy. We'll have one here. Rotate. And then let me copy this one here. Maybe on the inside face is all glass. L1D. This whole thing is glass right here, like this. Maybe this entire piece here is all glass. Scale 1D. Yeah, and then the same thing here. Plane V vertical. Go from here to here. Like that. So maybe that whole thing is glass. Okay, we'll just work with this for now for Windows. And so what I can do is I can split and select objects to split. We'll just select all of these, right? And then select cutting objects. Let me just go here and do select objects. There we go. Cool. So now we have this, and what I can do is, let me just check default. Let me lock this, and let me just delete. That. And then I can also give this a transparency in my layer, just so that it's easier to so you understand, you know, if I'm in this space. So you have something like this. Now let's work on our doors, right? So doors, we can just let's make the doors layer active. Let me change the color to, okay, cool. And I just want to make the openings for the doors, that's all. So let me just do, again, plane, V vertical. Let me start, turn the mirror back on, start here. And let's say that these are double doors. So let's do 6 feet by 7 feet, like this. And we'll have a couple of them in a couple places. So maybe we'll have one here. Maybe we'll have one here. Maybe we'll have another one over here. These are just like, you know, double. I'm just making the openings for these. This isn't supposed to be three-dimensional. This is just really create some kind of opening. Okay, great. And then we can do the exact same thing, right? So split, select objects to split. I can go here, just select objects, right? Enter, select cutting objects. Let me select doors, select objects. There you go. And then I can actually lock. Let me just go ahead and lock the doors. We'll turn them off. Okay, I think I got all of them. And now what we can do is let's do some frames. So like, let's do the mullions here first, right? So let's do the mullions on these. So let me select these and let me isolate them, right? Let's isolate this first. And let me make frames active. Let me change the color of it. Let me make it like, and I'm gonna just go ahead and contour this, you know, from here to here. And maybe the spacing between the frames are like 6 inches, or not, it's not 6 inches. We'll do 4 feet between each contour. And I definitely want to group them like that. And I always just group it again just in case. Like that, right? And then we'll do the same thing here, contour. And distance is 6 feet. There you go. I think the contour of this was not correct. Let's do contour again. Go from here to here. 6 feet. Yep. Contour from here to here. 6 feet. Very nice. And then we should create a frame around this. So I'll just do face border and just duplicate face border of these. Yep. And then let me go here and do select objects and group them. Okay. We'll come back to this. Let's just do the other windows as well. So let's just unisolate. Very good. Let me just go back and select windows and do select objects and isolate again. So we have, I guess, these two right here. So what I'll do is I'll do dupe face border for these. And, you know, we can have one right down the middle. I'll just, you know, we can line the vertical from here to here, line, select V for vertical, go from down here to here like this. Very good. Let's do unisolate. I type a little too fast sometimes. And so we have this. I think these are all the windows for now. Again, I mean, you would have way more than this, but this is just for an example. And so let's go here and select objects and let's isolate these. Okay, so we have these here. What I want to do is I want to extrude these curves to give them a thickness, to give them like a true frame thickness, right? So let me ungroup these and let me just go here, for example, and select these on its own. Let me group these as its own thing. I think I have them all selected. Fantastic. Let me look at my gumball. Line to object. Very good. If I do extrude curve, I can do on both sides if I wanted to, right? Like this. So I can extrude them both sides and maybe we make them, we'll make them like 4 inches deep. So we'll do 2 inches, both sides, which makes it total 4 inches, right? So we have this now. Now if I do cell poly surface, for example, it's just gonna select this one. I can also do cell surf, right? We'll select these guys. So I can do like this. And then I can do offset surface, right? And I can flip them if I wanted to. I can also do both sides. It's really your choice. If I do B for both sides. Let's make them like really thin frames, like 1 inch frames. So, which is possible. We can do 0.5 inches both sides. Make sure it's solid and make sure the corners are sharp up here. Just do enter, you see? Now they all have they have a thickness to it. And so we'll repeat the same thing to these over here, right? So if I go here and select this, let me just deselect this, right? I can group these, extrude curve, right? And I can do the exact same thing. I think it's gonna save the settings for me, so I can just press enter, right? And then I can do cell surf, Yep. And I can select this one and group it just in case. Offset surface. It's going to save the settings for me from the previous ones. So just press enter. Very good. Right. And I can just group them. I can also I'll do Boolean union at the end. So let's do the same thing here. Just select these over here like that. Group it, extrude curve, enter, cell surf. Let me click this one. The reason why I'm not doing cell polysurf is because these have become polysurfaces, so I don't want to get them selected. And then let's do offset surface. And then again, same settings, enter. Very good, let me group them. I'm just being redundant so you understand what to do. So extrude curve, exact same settings, so both sides, 2 inches both sides. Then offset surface, select this, enter, and the same settings, both sides, 1 inch. So enter. Beautiful. Extrude curve. Offset surface. Enter. Now, what I can do is I can do cell curve, right? So that I can just hide, I can group them and then I can hide them all because I don't need them anymore. You know, so now I have this. So if I do unisolate, there you go. You have something like this now with really quick thickness. You see? Again, I haven't given the walls thicknesses yet, so we'll get there. So I now want to offset the surface of these walls and give it a thickness, but before I do that, I actually want to separate the floor and the roof from the walls. And so what I'll do is I'll actually go ahead and I'll explode, right? And I will deselect I'm holding control and I'm clicking 2 times because it'll go through, right? Like that. And then I'll go back again and I can either J for join or I can just group it. So let me just go ahead and group it for now. And you see this right here, that these have been deselected. I guess I didn't deselect the floors. Let me go ahead and just make a new layer. I'll go back and I'll deselect. Make a new layer and I'll call it roof. I'll make a new layer and I'll call it floor. Okay. Let me just do select. Let me select these right here. And let me go ahead and make this roof layer. Yes. Right. Let me turn this off. And then let me isolate this. And let me ungroup this. Just select, make these a floor layer. Like that. Let me change the color of the floor. Perfect. There you go. Just so we can really read what we're doing here. Very good. And then let me go back, make this axis, turn this off. So we have this now, and join them again if I wanted to. Yes. So I could technically trim these off if I wanted to. I can do select. I could have also just did Boolean union and connected all these at once and then exploded them. And I can show you that as well. But I'll just do a trim for now. Select cutting objects. Let me trim this and I'll just trim it off right here. Right? And then let's go trim here. And trim this off right here. Right? Trim this off right here. Right? So like the shader. And then trim, select cutting objects, and then so we'll use this one and this one. Like that. And let's trim this off right here. Trim this off right here. Trim that off right there. Right? We did something like this now in plan. I'll do J for join. Which this makes sense. It should be like this. Shaded. And then I can do offset surface. And let me just, it doesn't matter if I go outside or inside. It's really a matter of preference. If you want to offset the walls outside or inside. I mean, it depends how you're drawing this. I'm going to flip them so they go all inside. And I'll do a 1 foot thickness like this. There you go. This is what we get. Very clean. Very good. So let me go ahead and let me unisolate. And let me turn on this. Very good. All right, let me just change the camera angle real fast. Make it 20. Let's just give this a ground plane. And let me turn this on. A new layer. We'll say ground plane. And let me change the color for this. Let's make it plane. Let's make this active. Let me move it right here. So maybe we'll have some pads and stuff like this. Let me do base border. Let me just offset 100 feet. Nope, maybe 50. There you go. So let's say maybe this is the site boundary right here. Let's go to top view real fast and let's see what we can do here. Maybe to create this sense of contrast, there's like a very smooth path that we create that takes you around as just this sense of contrast that takes you around these things. So I can use the interpolate and I can let me turn on project so I know for sure it's always going to stay. And let me turn ortho off. So maybe we have something like this and like this, but it looks a little too extreme. Something like this. And then this. Maybe there's one that connects out like this, that creates these spaces, and one that connects out like this. So let me pull this one. This is a little bit too much tension there. So you want to give it some relief like this. This is nice. And then the same thing here. Have you noticed I'm always doing like these S curves? So you start to get these kind of spaces, you know, these secondary spaces, and which help. And see, this is too extreme, so you want to make it more gentle like that. This is actually a nice secondary space, so I think that's nice. Okay, and then we can do offset, just offset curve, and maybe we'll make them like a nice generous paths. So like maybe they're just these really wide plazas. And so let's see how 10 feet looks. So I'll do 5 feet both sides. And I'm going to make sure loose is no, not loose is yes. So do it again. This. By the way, I'm pressing enter to repeat the same command over and over again. And I can do extend, and I can do, if I press extend and do enter 2 times, it gives me a dynamic extend. So I do extend, then enter again. If I click on anything, it'll just extend it for me right away. Right? This is nice. I think these create these nice little zones of like greenery. But I mean, we probably want a path that takes you from here to here, and a path that probably takes you from here to here. Maybe we should do that. We should have like a path that takes you from here to here. Like this. Okay, great. And then what I can do is I can trim. I don't need these center point lines anymore, but I'll just keep them for reference. So I can take this. So now there's a lot of ways that we can work with this. Let me go ahead and let me hide these for now. I actually don't like this right here. I don't like this right here, but it's okay. So there's a lot of ways of trimming these. One way that we can do is we can literally go ahead and trim these if we wanted to. Another way is we can do the curve Boolean command, so we can combine this as one complete curve. So let's go ahead and try that. Let's try the curve Boolean. I just want to make sure all my edges are being intersected by a curve. Very good. So this one, I don't know, so I'm just go ahead and just extend them out. Great. Let me just go to shaded view. Let me hide this plane. Let's do curve Boolean. And let me select this, enter. And then you want to make sure for your settings is that you have combined regions, yes, and output is curves. I don't need to simplify the curves. And so if you don't want this to be connected, then you will not combine regions. And you go ahead and click here. You see, and click here. So that's going to combine it. Click here. Very good. Click there. And then let's click here. Oh, I think something's open here. Something's probably open. That's why it did, right here. You see? So you got to be careful. When you do this, you need to be careful what you have open. Now, even right here, we ran the same problem. And I think this is good. Okay, let's just do it again real fast. So curve Boolean. Right here, 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 right here. Very good. So now if I press enter, right now this is one complete, not one complete curve, but it's all interconnected. So if I group these, for example, just group it. Okay, it's already grouped. Let me lock it. And let me just select these and hide them because I don't need them anymore. Let me just hide, right? So now we have this, you see? And then we do unlock. Nice. I could do an arc tangent and do an arc tangent from here to arc tangent from here to here, like that. And I can do trim, just trim that off like that. And I can do an arc tangent from here to here. And then this is weird. Arc tangent. This is actually not the most aesthetically pleasing landscaping path I've created, so yes. Okay, we'll just keep it like this for now. Don't judge me, but yeah, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing, but it's okay. Okay, great. Now, we're pretty much done with the Rhino part of this. Now it's like pure drafting, and I'm going to show you how to make 2D this and take it to Adobe Illustrator to really start playing with the line weights of these things. But before I do that, I want to create a door symbol and some grid markers. So let me just go here. Let me do grid and let me do door symbol. Honestly, you can even make an Illustrator, but we'll just do it here. And let me just give it red for grid. Typically grids are blue, but okay. Let's just do the grid first. Let's do dupe edge. This edge. And let me just take this curve. Let me change it to the grid. And I can just take this dot and we'll just go out here like that. Like that, nice. Let me offset. Let's offset 20 feet. This will we can use this as the extent of where we stop the grid lines. Copy. Let me turn my project back on. Right there. So that's one of the grid lines, and then we can do another one here. We can pretend these are like load-bearing concrete walls, and typically when you do your grids for the load-bearing concrete walls, you put your grid line at the exterior base of the concrete bearing wall. Dupe edge. Let me dupe this edge here. Very good. Let me change it to the grid. I should just make my grid active. Pull that across there. Pull this across like this. Dupe edge. Zoom in. Very good. Hold on. Oops. And again, I'm using the gumball to pull it. Copy. This. And then let me go ahead and trim so that these grid markers all stop at the same extent. Right? Like that. And then we'll adjust it in Illustrator. And so you can go ahead here and door symbol. I just want to use a regular door symbol. So what we can do is if I do, let me change the colors too, similar to other colors. I can do a rectangle, right? And let me just do a P line and I'll just make it 3 feet by 1.75 inches, right? By 3 feet, and then just close it. And let me just draw a circle from here to here, like that. By the way, like I would recommend, this is just me showing you how to do it, but you don't need to do like this. There's probably tons of blocks that you can use, and I'll show you some. Let me just group this, and you can even make this a block in AutoCAD if you wanted to, or excuse me, in Rhino if you wanted to. I'll save this here for now. I actually want to move this a little bit away from the 0, 0 point. I'll move it right here. Let me make sure my layers are, yeah, that's good. Like this. Okay, so now let's just do a clipping plane. So I'm gonna make a new layer. I'm gonna call it clipping plane. And I'll make that red as well. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is we're gonna make a clipping plane, and then we're gonna make 2D, and I'll show you how we can adjust and make 2D both in Rhino and in Adobe Illustrator. And then from here on out, we'll just purely work on Adobe Illustrator. If you already, and I'll preface this again, but like if you already know how to do this stuff in Rhino, you can skip ahead to Adobe Illustrator. So let me go ahead and we can keep the clipping plane. Let me just go perspective view. I can select my grid. I mean, we're going to make 2D. It's going to flatten it anyway, but I don't like that it's floating in midair. And let's just move them down here like that. Very good. So if I do clipping plane, right? Let me make my clipping plane layer. It doesn't even have to be big. It can be any size you want, like this. Okay, very good. And let's see what direction. Very good. And let me just go -4 feet like this. So we have something like this, right? This would be our floor plan like this. We've got it in rendered view. Very good. And so we'll go ahead and let's make sure that it's also active on top of you. So if I select it and I go to the rainbow circle here, the properties tab, I want to make sure it's active on top as well. Rhino3d's still a little glitchy, I'm noticing. Like sometimes it'll just switch on commands I didn't even press. Or it's like just so hypersensitive that if I barely right click on something, it'll just repeat the same command. So let's go to shaded view. Okay, so we're gonna make 2D. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna do make 2D. And I definitely want my clipping plane intersection checked, yes. I do not want my hidden line. I don't want for top view, you don't need that. Maintain source layers, yes, and view, yes. So we'll just go ahead, layer name, that's fine. Okay, it's gonna show up right here. That's why I moved this out of the way. So this is what we're working with right now, right? So lucky enough, because we offset everything, it's, you know, it's not gonna give us the intersections, you see? So this is like, this is really clean, you know? These are the floor intersections, you know? So we actually don't need to see these. We don't want these. This is just the plane of the floor intersections, right? So we have that. We have our door symbols. Again, grid, this is looking great. These are our frames right here, you know? When you make 2D, sometimes it'll group the output together, right? So let me just ungroup, okay? So you see how this isn't grouped? What you can do this is gross. This is not good. We can fix this though. We'll fix that. It's always good to double check. Again, this is not nice. This is yuck. But I think, is it grouped with anything? I think it might be grouped with something. Hold on. No, it's not. Let's just get rid of this. We'll fix the corners in reality. A corner mullion is going to have. Let me turn on this guy. So a corner mullion, you know, you're gonna have a corner mullion. it's not going to look like this little fishtail. You'll probably have it either finish the triangle or like this. You know, your corner mullions typically have a shape like this. That's perpendicular. This is not perpendicular, but you would have like a perpendicular shape like that. That would be your corner mullion. So we'll fix that. Yeah, we'll fix these to get proper corner mullions. So doors. So again, let's see what layer is this. This is, yes, this is the doors one. These are the door surfaces. Let me just go ahead and delete these. Right, so let me grab these little doors here. Let me copy them. And before I do this, there's something that we can do. I can make this like a dashed arc to give it just a little bit of technicality to it. So if I went here, so it's okay. I mean, I can work in the make 2D layers space to keep it consistent. I don't have to. I can just make another layer and call it door arc. Like this. And let me just go ahead and change this to door arc. And you'll see why I'm going to do this later on, like why I just did this. Because I want to make this look dashed. And so again, I'm going to do all my line work in Illustrator. Group, rotate. So we'll work with this for now. Copy. What I love about Rhino is that when you group things, it maintains all the layers, which is awesome. I think the new versions of Illustrator do this now, finally. This. Near. Like that. Okay. Also, I did something super silly, but just ignore it anyway. I should have had these paths connect to the doors, but it's okay. I can probably fix it by doing something. I'll show you what I'll do to fix it. I think I should have honestly had the paths move here and then the doors move here, right? So what I can do is, let me ungroup this for a second. Yeah. Okay. What I can do is this. Let me just go ahead and let me just move this right here, like that, right? And then let me take these points, just move them right there like this, right? Let me take this. If you click on it, right, you see the points will become activated. I'll select it like this. And again, I have the gumball oriented to the object, so it's easy to pull the points around. Let me just make sure I have the points selected. Just pull it like that, you see? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to export this to Adobe Illustrator. What's really important is that, oops, where you have, so let me just draw a circle real fast. Let me draw a circle, and I'm going to do it at the 0 point, right? So right here is the 0 point, okay? If you want to export this as Make 2D in Adobe Illustrator, add a scale, from Rhino and make it land on the artboard correctly, what you can do is you want to move this at the 0, 0, 0, exactly the 0, 0 point. So this will land at the artboard on Adobe Illustrator. So if I select this, I do export, right? So I'll go ahead and you want to export it and save it as an Illustrator file for now. Just give whatever file you like, do save. Now, if you want it at a certain scale, right, like 1 foot equals, I don't know, 0.125 inches, 1/8 scale, then you definitely want this at the origin point. Because if you have it someplace else, it's going to fly off the artboard. And then we can order layers. And then we can do, okay. So that's good. I do have this other Rhino file that has a bunch of entourage and stuff that I'm going to take with me and open in Adobe Illustrator as well. I can also do it in here as well, but I'm just going to take it with me to Adobe Illustrator, and I'll pick and choose the ones I want to use in Adobe Illustrator. So I have this open right now on Adobe Illustrator, and so do you see how this opens up exactly where it should be? It opens up exactly on the artboard, right? Because I had it to a scale and I had it located at the 0, 0 point on Rhino, which is really important. So if you didn't have it at the 0, 0 point, it may fly off and be over here somewhere, just completely off the artboard. You don't want that. Let me go here. So I have all of my layers here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and, again, I have all my layers. So I have the luxury of making everything one color for now. If you don't, then you assign things by color instead, then stick to your colors. But I'm going to go ahead and change all this to a very light gray. So the way that I do my line weights is I start by making everything super light, and then I start with my cut line, and the cut line should be the darkest. There should be nothing that ever competes with your cut line. So I'll go ahead here and I'll give it an 80% K value, okay? So now everything has an 80% K to it, right? Now, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and give everything the same line weight. So I'll go ahead and make everything 0.1, okay? So everything's like super thin now. You see? Now, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find my cut layer. So if I click on this one right here, right? So click on intersection, anything that says clipping plane intersection, that's a cut. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna make this, let's see what 1 point looks like, and I'll make it black. Like that. You see, we could probably make it pop more, but again, I'm not gonna make anything else black except my cut. Nothing else is gonna be black except the cut. So let me make this a little thicker. So let me just select this and let's make it, let's see 1.5 and see how that feels. There you go. Like this pops. You want it to read like this. You want it to pop like this, right? This is important. I did do something silly, but it's okay because I did have this on a layer anyway. So I can go here and go to door symbol, select these. I want these to be a little bit darker. So technically, no, we'll keep it like this, but I'm going to give it a thickness of 0.2. Let me just see how that feels. That's good. We might be able to make this even a little bit thicker. You can tell when things start to get too thick is when the proportions of the thickness and the gap starts to feel off. It should be balanced. So let's make the walls a little bit thicker and see what we're dealing with. And I'll show you down to details about the corner conditions. Let's see how 2 feels. That's still not bad. 2 isn't bad. I think I forgot a door. It's okay. I think 2 isn't bad. Let's try an extreme just to see what happens when we make it 3. Three isn't bad either, but it's starting to get really close. So let's make it like 2.5. This is why I like doing my line weights in Illustrator, because I get like a live feed of how it's gonna feel, right? I think this looks good. Now, you see these corners? Do you see how the corners are a little bit rounded? We can be super detailed with this and make them sharp. Like you see here, corners, we can make them mitered. And so it'll be sharp. And then, let's keep it off like that. And I'm sorry, the caps. Let me go back and select it. I'll show you the caps. If you make the cap, because right now the caps are rounded, right? So if each of these might be able to round it off, you can square them off and extend them like that, you see? Or go in like that. So this makes it like cat corner, which isn't nice. You want to cap them off like that, right? Like this. Very good. So, I mean, right away, when you see this as a floor plan, the first thing you read is the cut. That's what you want to read. More so like in an architectural academic setting. I want to read your walls right away, you know? That's what I want to see. So that's number one. Now let's go and let's look at our window frames, like anything that's frames, okay? So if you notice, it's being eaten right now by this ball, and I'll show you how to fix that. If you go to, let's just click on it. So clipping plane intersection frames, let me select that. Again, it's only going to select these. Let me drag this to the top layer. So now these are going to be above your walls. It's already above the walls anyway, but just in case. And I mean, I can go ahead and turn everything else off except those, right? So we have these. And I will make these black because these are also cut. Only cut is black. And but I will not make it the same line weight as the, I will not make it the same line weight. 0.25. Let's see how 0.25 is. And I'll actually give it a fill of white. There you go. Let's see how these look. So 0.25 is not bad, I would say. I wouldn't go more than that because it starts to get a little too weird. It starts to get a little too condensed. Like this. I can also do select by appearance and get rid of these if I wanted to. Again, let me do the same thing. I think these are also rounded off. So let's go here to this one. Let's see, let's cap them and see. There you go. So now these are sharp corners. And let's just turn these back on. So right off the bat, like what I'm noticing is like, do you see this overlap here? I mean, an easy fix is just to move your layers around. So like, for example, walls is on here. Like we don't want our grids over the wall. So I'm going to move my grid underneath. So that's gone. And then the same thing with my frames, right? So like the frames should be underneath my walls. So you see that's gone. And then the same thing with the glass. I guess I call it window. That should be under the walls as well. So that's gone. And don't forget, this is a white fill. Let me just go back and select these and make sure that these have like a square cap. Yeah, like that. Go back to layers and let's just turn them back on again. There you go, like this. So this is how we should start to read, right, between walls and frames and stuff. And we'll go back here. So like this here should be, we'll give it a 1 point or maybe a 0.75. And we'll make it black. Even 0.75 is a little thick. Yeah, 0.75, you see, again, proportions, that's a little thick. So we'll make it like maybe 0.5. And the same thing, we'll make this squared off like that. And we'll give it a fill. So you won't see any of this stuff here. Just give it a white fill. There you go, like that. You see? And I don't need this, and I don't need that, and I don't need this. Right, so that's how that corner should read, like this. Same thing here. I can just select this and do the eyedropper tool. So that's going to match that now. Like this. And then let me just delete these. I think these are on different layers. I should actually put these on a different layer. I should put this on the same layer. I do Control X. And where's my frames? Control F, there you go. I'll paste this in front. I pasted in this layer, like that. That should be nice and clean. And then this one, I think I forgot to, let me just go ahead and do a quick fix of it. You can just go like this, go like that, select these lines, do Control J for join, Control X for cut. Let me paste it on this top layer, Control F, right? Just give it a white fill. I can also just match the properties if I do I for the eyedropper tool. And let me go like that. Very good. So now that's filled in. The glass cut should be black. So let's go to, I guess I have it as window. Let me select it. That should be black, but I don't want to give it a thickness. Like 0.1 is fine. Like this is fine. In reality, you should have these as double, I mean, unless you're like in a very nice climate, but it should be doubled. We can make it a little thicker. Let's try 0.2. Yeah, that's the most I would go. I wouldn't go more than that. And then the door frames, right? So the door symbol, that's above. Let's see how these are reading. Very good. Let's select these. I'm also going to make these black because you are technically cutting through them, but I want to not make it that thick because it's a double line that's really close together. So I'll maybe do like a 0.1. And let me select them. Let me give them a white fill. Okay, and then the door swings, we can give them like a dashed line if we wanted to. So if we go here, door arc, select these, and then let's give them a dashed line. Let's try 2 point. Let's see how that feels. Yeah, that's good, like that. And then our grid line, let's go here. Let's select grid. And it has like a weird stroke value. Let's give it 0.15. And we'll keep that grid. And then let's go and let's give it a dash line. We can give it a dash like this where it's like that, then dash like that. We can also give it a center line like that. So let's see. We can give it maybe a 6 point, then it will be a gap of 3, and then a dash of 3, and a gap of 3. Let's see how that reads. So that's how that reads, like that. I mean, we can double it up and give it more if we want to. So select them. Maybe 12, 6, 6, and 6. Ooh. That reads a little better, like this. Okay, so that's the typical. We still have to add more stuff onto here. We need to add landscaping on here now, and we need to do hatches and swatches and stuff like that, just so that we can really make this start to pop. And I'll show you how you can do different colors and things like that. Okay, so I added some entourage back on here. And so I'm going to show you how we can add some vegetation, some people, furniture, do the landscaping, hatching, and how we can really start to make this floor plan even have higher contrast. So I have these over here. I think the first thing I'll do is just lay out my landscaping, right? So I'll move all the blocks here, and let me just turn off people and furniture. Let me grab my landscaping elements here. So you want variation. I think 3 is good. Like three blocks is all you need. You can do more if you want to, but I think 3 blocks is all you need, to be honest. If you do more, that's fine. And again, I want this light, and I want these to be like 80, if not lighter, to be honest. Right? I mean, landscaping will change the entire look of your... Let me just turn these off. Let me just go ahead and group each of these individually. And you can select things like this also in Illustrator. Yeah, I want to group these individually just in case. Oops. Okay, great. So I think these are grouped. Nice. Let's go back and do this. I can also do Control Y. That's like outline view, kind of saves memory. And you just want to rotate things and give contrast of scale, size, and orientation. Right. This overlap is also nice when you overlap with the pathways and stuff like that. And I think you want to have some overlap also with let's move this over here and make this bigger, like this. Let's make this one not too big, like that, and we can have that right here. And then maybe this one can be like right here. I might fast forward through this because this is going to be quite tedious, but also therapeutic. Okay, so I finished laying out the vegetation. Ignore the this little dashed line here, this dashed box. It sometimes comes up, but you can ignore that. But so I laid out the vegetation. If you notice, it's looks varied, which is very good, and there's kind of a logic to it. Like you notice, I'm always trying to get not every corner, but the majority of the corner conditions. Like maybe I can get this awkward condition here, but like you try to want to hit like corner conditions like right here, right? So like you want to maybe put like one over here like this. And then I'm also really hitting the perimeter. Like I'm trying to get around the perimeter and the inside. Okay. And these all are the same line weight. These are light. So if you see, if I zoom in here, like vegetation really starts to change the reading of a plan. You see, like this is how you start wanting things to read. We're not even done yet. This is just vegetation. We're going to also add people on here and some furniture and then annotations and then texture. And then I'm going to show you also how to change, like if you want to add color to this, like make this a different colored floor plan, how to do that as well. So I might fast forward through this and show you, but again, you see how line weights are reading, like things are starting to pop. I mean, we're looking at this digitally, but like this will, like things start to pop quite well on here. And you'll see things start to come together even more and more once you add like annotations and people and furniture and texture. So for people, I have people here. Let me just turn off furniture. Adding people is so important. Basically, you want to activate your floor plan. It's so important to activate your plans and sections. I would never do plans and sections without having them have some kind of entourage or some kind of activity in there because it gives emphasis to the narrative, to your story. Let's go in here and also I can just go ahead and lock all the layers so I don't mess anything up. But I mean, these people are massive. They shouldn't be that big. This is around, I would say, 3/32 scale. I changed the scale. This is around 3/32. And so a person's about a foot wide. Again, I would go ahead and group these individually so you don't have to worry about it. You see how things locked, so I think this whole thing should be grouped as one thing. Transform, scale, we can make them probably 80% smaller. Really just, put people around here, I think these are people that are sitting, but you can have a lot of these walkers here. Move this person over here. Maybe this can be an outdoor seating area like this. And so I will again fast forward through this and show you how this becomes populated, and then we'll come back and we'll look at the next thing, which is furniture. Okay, so I finished populating this floor plan with now people. So again, first layer is vegetation, and now people. So you see how it starts to get even more and more active, like it starts to become more believable, like a usable space. And what I did is I spread the people out along all of the edges of the plan on the landscaping, and then the same thing in the floor plan where I kind of have them spread across. Like maybe I can add these two people and put them right here as well, and maybe rotate them. And I'm not using that many people, right? So, but it looks varied, I can also maybe put some people over here, but then again, there's people here, there's people over here, there's people over here, over here, over here. So they're kind of scattered across, kind of activates the plan. I have, a person entering here, right? Person entering here, so kind of activates the entries as well. Again, so let me zoom in just to show you, again, hierarchy. You see, nothing competes with the cut of the walls. Nothing. Like you shouldn't have anything. Again, here, even if I zoom in more, like you see, this is darker than this. You don't want anything competing with your cuts. Always a cut has to read immediately. Everything else is secondary. And then tertiary as well. So like it's typically your cuts is number one, and then like secondary surface elements like stairs and doors, door swings and furniture, and then or not even furniture, and then like symbols like arrows and cut symbols and stuff like that. So you need to be able to read the important elements right away. But this is again for like more aesthetic things. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add furniture on here now. It's going to activate it even more. And then after furniture, we'll do texture, like landscaping texture, and then after that, annotations and color. So let me just turn on furniture here. Let's go here. And I'm going to scale this up. I can always get a good sense of scale by the door openings, right? So like if I let me grab a chair. Let's see, let me group it. So I know that this chair is massive. This chair is not supposed to be 3 feet wide, for example, right? So let me go back here, but because since I scale these all at the same time, I can just bring them down. So I can just, it should actually be half of that, like around 18 to 14 inches wide. So I can just scale this down by, before I do that, let me go ahead and group these again individually. And you really need to think about your furniture, right? Like the types of things you want to add here. You don't want your furniture to be too confusing, right? Right. So these are things like for example, I did these curvy elements because this is like just a really sharp plan, right? So I kind of want to have a contrast of landscape that contrasts with this. But let's go here, and I think we're good. And so, like, for example, we can add the kidney one maybe at like reception entry, for example, you know, so we can have it. This is still pretty big, I think, because this is 16 feet, so this is really big. So let me just scale this down by probably 50% again. Oh, I don't think I scaled them down. That's why I was talking too much. Let me go right here. You can do something like this. I mean, furniture is, you got to watch out with your furniture, but maybe something fun in the center there, like that. And then maybe we can use this one again over here. Again, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this. Okay, so I went ahead and I placed just, you know, very minimal furniture, not too much. Like I put, maybe this is like the entry reception right here, you know, very simple, like information desk as well. Same thing here, this entrance here. Have, you know, 2 chairs at the edges, and these spaces here, along the edges right here, you know. I could, I mean, again, I forgot to put the doors here, but we can have another one here. I don't like to leave these spaces empty, you know, so I typically like to activate as many spaces as possible. There we go, like that. So things are just anchored. And you see, things are varied, you know, whether it's by rotation or by actual content of objects. So now we have furniture, vegetation, and people. So the next thing we're going to do is add landscaping texture. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to call it landscape texture. Okay, I'm gonna put it on the very bottom for now. We're gonna do something that's kind of intense. We're going to live paint this entire drawing on its own. Okay, but before I do that, I want to just pick some textures. Let me just go ahead and lock this for now, and some very simple textures. Let me just go ahead and fill that in. Let me go to my swatches over here, and let me just add here, and let me go to patterns, basic graphics. Let's go to textures, and we get all these options here. Let's just see what we get. I want maybe stipple fine. Stipple, let me zoom in on here because it gets very irregular. Like that, there's stipple irregular. And then what is this? Dry lake. Stipple fine. Let's go with stipple fine. It's just that it's so massive, right, that it gets this pattern look to it. I think when we export it, it'll be fine. But let me take the stroke off of this because this is what we're going to sample from our swatch. Right, we're going to sample this from our swatch, and then if I go here and go to transform and scale, I just want to make sure that my patterns are part of it. Transform patterns, okay, that's fine. And so if I go ahead and let me just make a smaller square like this, right? Delete this, and then scale this up. There we go, like that. And so, you know, let's make it a little bit more dense than this. I think that's helpful. I think anything else, it starts to get a little too much. And then we'll give it an opacity, but we'll do that later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate this entire drawing. I don't need the grid lines, and to be honest, I'm going to change them and make them more dashed. They're still too close together, but we'll do that last. So I'm going to go ahead here. Oops, I have everything locked. Let me unlock it. So I'm going to take this, and let me save the file first. Okay. Okay, so we have this here. I don't need these. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to select this whole thing. Yes, even with the trees, with all the vegetation, I'm going to live paint it. So I'm going to go right here, right? I'm gonna press K for live paint. I'm gonna click anywhere just to activate it. Okay, that's totally fine. It's just warning me. Continue. That's fine. Okay. And so it's trying to close things for me right now. So let it do its thing. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so now I'm going to sample this. So I'm going to press I right here, and I'm going to press K again. And you see, I'm going to hatch here, hatch there. And don't worry, we're going to make this really light. Hatch this, hatch this, hatch this, hatch that. This is kind of freaking me out. Let me see. Oh, okay. I see what's going on here. Because this, I think there's a small opening somewhere. I'm trying to find it. Ah, it's this right here. Okay, I'm silly because I forgot to add doors here. I'll show you how to fix this. I'll go ahead, I'll draw a stroke. I'll make sure there's actually no stroke to it. Just going to be a line with no stroke, no fill, like from here to here. Okay, and then I'll select this and this, which is the live paint basically, and go to Object, Live Paint, Merge. That's fine. It's going to go ahead and start, recalculating and closing everything off again. Let it do its thing for like 5 or 10 seconds. If this takes too long, I'll fast forward. Okay, I think it did it. Let's see. I hope I don't have anything else open. Great, so there you go. So it's closed off now. So if I do I, let me sample this, I, K. Okay, so basically this is it. This is the floor plan. Again, this hatch is too, I don't like this. This hatch is too dark. It's too dark. And so we're going to make it lighter. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to select this and get ready for it. I'm going to duplicate it again because I always want an active live paint that I can always go back to. I mean, if your computer can't handle it, then just expand it. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go Object, Live Paint, Expand. Okay. And then now I'm going to ungroup it. Okay. So now you see it's going to go ahead and it's going to select and group all the hatches together as one thing. Let me just pull it across so you can see. You see, this is what I want. I want full control of just this only. So I'm going to go here and give it an opacity of like 50 maybe, or even less. And so this, I want to make sure, let me just cut this and put it on the landscape layer. So Control F into that layer right there. I want the very bottom. And so I know this corner is a good reference point that I can use right there. I hope. I might be completely off of it. Yes. Great. So you see, and then I can make it even lighter than this if I want to. I'm a little worried to make it a little too light. Do like 40 maybe? 40% opacity, like that. I just don't want it to compete with the floor plan. And then, okay, here, if I want this to be more dense, I could just, do that. But see, you're starting to notice the patterning now. You see that? Which I don't like. That maybe, and then let's make this 50 or 40, like that. So I can go ahead here and do I and sample it for the density. You see it got more dense, you see? If I zoom in, like you can see the hierarchy. I mean, again, let me make it more dense. Let's see. Okay, now it's starting to pattern. See, now it's starting to pattern. And then let me change this to maybe 30. We'll see how this looks like when it exports. But let me just get a good zoom in. So you see what's going on here? Like this is a beautiful plan. So now what I want to do, so let me just hide these because this takes up a lot of memory. Let me just hide these. I can do Control-3 to hide. Okay. So we have this. Let me fix the grid lines. I do not like the grid lines right now. They're too close together. What I can do is I can just scale it and match it to see what I like. Beautiful. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add annotations. So I'm going to make that the very top layer. I'm going to call it annotations. Okay, so a couple things that we want to add here, right? We want to add like entry symbols, maybe section cut symbols. This also really helps in reading the drawing. Elevation markers is also helpful. So let me go ahead and show you that. So like, for example, when I do an entrance, right, I'm going to go ahead and entrance symbols are like triangles, are entrance symbols. So we'll just do this. Let me switch. Again, I'm not going to make it black. It will be gray. Like, and so this one, I can get rid of this point like that. So that's an entrance symbol, you know, you can use those how you like. So entrance symbol here. And again, proportion matters, scale matters. You don't want it to, I think I have it, these are locked. Like this, move this one here. Like this. Oh, I think I didn't, I don't know why my duplicate doesn't work sometimes. See, I think it's just because it's a memory issue on my computer. But you get the point. I'm gonna, again, there should be one here. I should have put a path here as well. Also, if you can tell, I kind of messed up on this one right here. This should be lining up against it. So again, these are entrance symbol arrows. I'm pressing E for free transform. That's like a quick hotkey that I press to rotate things and stuff like that. Yeah. Right? Very good. I can also select these if I, like, let's say they're too small, right? I can go to object, transform, and I can do transform each actually. And I can scale them together, but in their own axes, right? So I can scale these together, like maybe they want to be like that. Maybe not a little bigger. Yeah. Like this. And then text, I mean, I like to use entrance. I like, again, in my previous videos that you see, like the diagramming video, I'm very specific with text. Arial. I want it all caps. I want it spaced out, like a lot. Even more than this. Yikes. 250 maybe? Yeah. And then regular's fine. Size of the text, make it 10. And again, it's not going to be black. It's going to be 80%. Only thing dark and cut is going to be your cut. That's it. Nothing else should compete with that. You know, and then what you could do is you can do like elevation markers, like maybe it's like, 0 feet, like 0.0 feet, right? Let me just center this. Or right here, it's 0 point. Maybe you have to go up like a couple, right? Entrance here, entrance here, entrance there, entrance there, and then, no. Here, courtyard, 0.0 feet. Or you're stepping down, you don't want to go up, right? Right? You can say here, I don't know, I'm just making things up here. This is, I don't know what program this is. Exhibit gallery. I just like to give it actual terminology because it just helps you. Right? Exhibit gallery, exhibit gallery. And then if you were going to do like a section marker, right? So you could do, and then your elevation markers, but section marker. You could technically grab, let me save this file, but you could technically grab one of the lines. I think, but I mean, I remember the rotation angles was like 30 degrees, 60 degrees, and 10 degrees, so it doesn't matter. So I can do pen tool like this. I don't want, but I do want it again to be this color. Let me just cut that, Control X, Control F, and that. Give this a thickness like this. Group it. There you go. Do transform, rotate. Let's try 60. Yep. So we know that this is the 60 degree. I might scale this up just a little bit so it reads better. Yeah. Like this. Form. I think what I would do instead is I would draw these straight and rotate them all at the, and flip them and then rotate them all at the appropriate angles. So that's like you can add your section symbols here. And then your north arrow, the way I would do your north arrow is we'll do a circle. That's going to be really thin. Again, nothing is black. 0.25 circle like this. And then I'll draw a line like that. Like this. And I would move your north arrow wherever your label is for this project. You know, I would have maybe black. Zoom in here, just so you understand the hierarchy. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do different now like color versions on here. So I might switch over to a different like window that shows how we can do these in different colors. And then I'll do a final export of this to show you how this looks as like a, if we export this as like a PNG to flatten all the line work, or as like a JPEG. You could also just view this on a PDF. On your PDF settings, on your preferences, you can make sure that you don't enhance the thin lines, but that's way down the weeds. I would activate this even more if I would, like, for example, you could have this as a different, as a different pathway, like riding bikes, or as a texture, people riding bikes plan view, people sitting on the bench, but hopefully you get the picture, right? Like this is a huge difference. Let me just take this off. Let's turn off landscaping, right? Let's just turn all this stuff off and show you. Turn off people. Turn off annotation. Like, this is basically what we started out with, right? And so when you look at it, it looks very empty. Even if it does have good line weights, for example, if the line weights are reading well, right? It's still just a very empty plan, right? It doesn't tell you a story about anything about how spaces can be used. So once you activate it, it really starts to change how you read the plan, right? It starts to change, it gives the plan some life. So I'm going to switch over and pan over to like another window on here, and we can see how this looks like when we do different colors. So let's go ahead and see how this looks like when we give this different colors. Maybe like you want this to be like a monochromatic blue floor plan, for example, right? So what we can do is, let's make our walls a color. So let's select our walls first, and let's go down here, and we can either make it, so we can make it a blue, which is like cyan and basically magenta, like this, right? But then everything else needs to be this color as well, right? So, or a lighter version of this color. So let me go get the other clipping plane intersections. So this right here will also be this color. Right? And then frames. I think you can get the point of what I'm doing here. Okay, so basically anything that's cut has become that color. Now we're going to go after the things that aren't cut, right? So like, for example, let's go to here, and those are the regular frames. So that's not going to be a blue. We'll make like a lighter shade of a blue. And then let's go, we can select furniture, we can hold this, and people, do the sample tool. So it's going to be like this color. And then the same thing with our font. Let me do the doors, door arcs, like those. The sample and look like this. So you see a blue, like it'll start changing, then the font That's gonna be a little tricky. Let me do select, filter the selection, select same, or select text objects. There we go. And then we can do the exact same color. I'm looking at it as I'm toggling it just to see, because I don't want it to pop. I don't want it to compete with the floor plan. That's why. So select same, fill color, and then I can just sample this and then just fill it. I did something wrong actually. I want to sample the lighter one, this one, and then just flip the stroke to the fill, like that. Like this. So you see, the monochrome itself has a really cool effect as well. So let's do the door swings as well. Door art should have that. I mean, I think it has like a crazy. Let's maybe get it dashed. There we go. And the same thing with these guys here. Let's select. Go to layers, select these, and let's go ahead and give it the same color as this. Like that. I think everything is truly monochromatic except the dash, which is okay. But I mean, that looks very pretty. It's very nice, right? It reads well. And it's actually good that this isn't blue. It would have been like a very crazy blue plan like this, you see? So you should be creative in your plans and be expressive, like these things help. I mean, we can do the grid lines, but I'm kind of inclined to keep the grid lines like this. Now, another thing that we could do is we could start to do like a multicolor approach as well. I'm just saving the file, but we could do a multicolor approach as well, right? We could start to mix colors, right? So like maybe this has so if we go to our layers here and do select walls, right? Maybe its poche is the same variant, but a little bit lighter. So like maybe it's like a 10%, 10% of it, like that, like this. That's an option, which also helps read it, you see? You could do a complementary color, so maybe like a magenta instead, like a very light magenta. So just keep that off like that, which I think looks really nice. I'll show you. Like this, But then you need to be careful because you don't want your plan to become distracting. You just want to help read the walls, right? You could also do an all black version, but you need to be careful. You actually don't want to use 100% black if you do like a black background and a white floor plan. So let me show you what I mean. Let me just duplicate only the walls here and show you. But this looks fantastic. I mean, like this. I actually like the monochrome option more. So if we go here, let me just show you. You select this, and if we do, let's do the 10-10, like 10 cyan, 10 magenta. I just like the consistency of this. I think it's much cleaner. It helps you read things as a whole right away. But I think this looks fantastic as I'm trying to get with the text, like that with the fill, with the poche that's of the same family. Let me show you what happens if you did an all black. Let me just select this one. We'll go right here. Okay, so let's say we have this here, right? And let me just do a black background. me just do Control X. Let me just paste it here for now. All right. Okay, and then let me make this black. Okay. You don't want to make all black because if you were going to print this, digital is fine, but if you're going to print this, the ink will actually start to eat into the lighter color. You don't want to, you need to be careful of that. So you actually want this to be like maybe at max like 85% to 90%, like that. And then you can go ahead and make this, you know, your white stroke instead. And you can just keep it as a white fill if you wanted to, right? Or no fill. Let's say you want no fill on this. Let's say you just want just only stroke, no fill, like this. You see? So I want to. Do you see? If you made this all black right now, and you printed this, literally, like the ink will eat into this. So that's why you want this to be like a 80 to 85% gray instead. That will help the white read a little better. And then obviously you can go ahead and poche this if you wanted to and still have the same contrast effect if you want to do an all black plan, right? So you can do this, and then you can do maybe like a 5% gray poche, like that. You see? I think that's like has a color to it though. Hold on. I think that's like a magenta, cyan, and K, which we don't want. I want just pure 5% gray. Yeah, let's get rid of this. There you go, like this. You see, you can do something like that if you wanted to. But yeah, be careful if you do an all black and white plan, because then if you're going to print it, the black is going to eat into the white ink. So, or not the white ink, the black ink is going to eat into the white negative space of the paper. So that's why I always do like an 80 to 85% background. But going back to here, I think monochrome is fantastic. Or you can just stick to all black if you want to. I mean, if you like the all black look, like in the previous video recording, it's completely your choice. I'm going to go ahead and export these and just show you, the differences. And then we'll wrap it up. So these are the exports from as a PNG file, right? And so right off the bat, you can see how light everything is except the actual floor plan. And obviously you're going to zoom in on this, right? But everything else is pretty light. You can make this a little bit darker if you like, right? And for example, we could have made this textured a little bit more dense, but I actually like this because in reality, you're going to zoom in like this when you're like presenting this digitally, right? So that's why this reads fantastic when you're zoomed in. You see, obviously zoomed out, but I don't think if this is a digital presentation, you would be this zoomed out, right? You would probably go in. But I think this reads great. There's a lot of hierarchy. Right away, you can read the cuts. You can read what's glass and what's opening immediately. And there's no competition between elements in your drawing. So if I zoom in, again, very clean. You can read things right away, right? Looks so good, I think, in my opinion. I mean, again, I think we can add more texture here on the sidewalks. We could add more activity, like riding bikes, people on carpets or whatever, chilling on the lawn. But this looks, so this is the black and white version, just pure monochrome black and white. You zoom out more, right? Let your eyes settle. So I may have been able to increase the opacity of the texture, but I think it's fine. So this is the colored version right here. This is the one with the blue. One thing I should have done is I should have made the landscape blue as well. Forgot to do that, but that's okay. So again, let me zoom in, right? You see, the people, they're a color, but they're different than this because you want there to be a difference. You don't want it to compete. This is the colored version of this, like this blue lavender version. It's your choice if you want to get the symbols, if you want to give the symbols a color or not. You're going to keep them gray, so this is a good difference. Like this has a color to it, while this one doesn't. It's your choice. It's a matter of preference. If you want to keep like the grids and the symbols like out of the equation of the color, right? It's a matter of preference. Again, I would make this a color as well. The paths should have been a color. I think this looks great. This is how it looks, zoom out. Even the text here is the same color. So I hope you found this helpful. And this can apply exactly to sections as well. This type of line weight and color approach. So again, if you're going to print things out, just make sure that you're always test printing these things. Like, you don't have to print the whole thing out, like test print like a swath of this, like just this much of it on a test print on full scale to see how it looks. And if it's good, then go ahead and start printing. If it's too light, make things darker, make things more dense. But yeah, I hope you found this helpful. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and please subscribe and share these videos with other people who need help. I'm going to start releasing more videos in the upcoming weeks about more drafting and modeling courses. Thank you.